Welcome to MCN and the 2019 BMW S1000RR. Now this bike was 4 years in the making and it's completely new. There's not one single part on this bike that's the same as the old S1000RR, which, as we all know, came out in 2010. And for a little history lesson, we can say that when BMW came out with this bike, it was a great big FU to the superbike establishment of the day. If you can remember, before then, most superbikes were making about 160 bhp at the back wheel, a bit more at the crank. And each year the manufacturers would give us just a tiny little bit more, and then BMW came out and said, okay, here you go, here's 190 horsepower, here are a load of electronic riding aids that you've only ever really seen in MotoGP, and here's a chassis you can stick some pattern bodywork on and just go out and track and race it. So that really rocked the superbike world in 2010, and it was modified slightly in 2012, had a pretty big overhaul in 2015, and over the years the bike's got a little bit more powerful, more mid-range, slightly easier to ride, better geometry, better electronics. But now, 10 years worth of S1000RR knowledge with BMW, racing at all levels, from club racing to World Superbike and TT and World Endurance and track days. They've been really involved in racing, and all that knowledge and all that experience has resulted in this brand new bike. And we're here at Estoril to ride it at its world launch. Now, before I carry on, what I would say is it's been wet all day, so we haven't ridden it completely in anger, but we've been able to answer most of the pressing questions. So we've been riding it on Bridgestone wets, standard. This bike comes on S22 sports tyres. We were going to get the opportunity to ride it on slicks, but unfortunately we didn't. But the overriding thing is the engine is more powerful, the chassis is more forgiving, the electronics are cleverer. So this bike is so much easier to ride than the old bike. It makes the old bike feel like a bit of a flabby tourer with a big sack of potatoes stuck in between the frame rails. When you go out in the pit lane, you can immediately feel how narrow the bike is. It feels more like a 600, and it's kind of got that hollow, agile lack of weight that the carbon fibre HP4 race had. It feels that different. It's really easy just to get on, beautiful steering, and really powerful. So it's got 204 bhp or 207 HP, and at the top end it's just phenomenal. To be honest, it doesn't feel too different from the old bike, because the old bike had like mid 190s, and that's more than fast enough anyway. But what's really noticeable is how quick the engine spins up. The engine itself is 4 kilos lighter, it's got a lighter crankshaft, and it's just got that violent spin of the revs that a race engine's got. But the most fundamental thing is the shift cam system in here. So basically it's got a variable valve timing, it's got an inlet cam which slots across the top of the engine with a high lift Larry cam on it, and a low lift cam which kind of simulates an S1000R. So it's got loads of grunt at the bottom, loads of top end at the top. So it's got more of everything. That's unusual in today's world. You always normally take from one and suffer from the other. So you've got masses of grunt. Now, riding it on the track, always at high revs, you don't really notice it, but I've done a few laps just leaving it in lazy gears like you would do on the road, and the amount of extra oomph sort of between 5,000 and 8,000 revs is phenomenal. It's going to make a really great road bike. So you've got a more flexible engine, you've got a much lighter chassis, it's much easier to ride, and then you've got the electronics, new electronic systems. I mean, it's got a new colour dash, and that colour dash is kind of the interface for all the electronic riding modes. The amount of adjustments with wheelie control and traction control, those two are separated out now to make a more refined, kind of smoother system for both of them. You've got quick shifter, auto blipper, riding modes, and to try and fathom all those modes will probably take weeks. So today we've basically had it in quite a wet riding mode with quite intrusive electronics, and out on the track the bike's just really, really safe. It stops you sliding, but it doesn't pull you back too much. So I can't wait to ride it in the dry actually. Elsewhere we've got new wheels, you've got new brakes. The brakes are now by Hayes instead of Brembo, but they're made to BMW specification. So they've got slightly less urgency when you first pull them, so they're not quite as aggressive, but then they've got loads of power for the rest of the braking zone. And what Brembo's used to do was fade after a few laps and then kind of stay in that faded position, but there's no problems with the brakes here at all. So handling, brakes, power, agility, it's just incredible. If it had a different badge on it, you'd never know it's a BMW. It's so different from the old S1000RR, and it comes in 3 versions. You've got a standard version, a sport version, which has got the electronic DDC suspension, which this has got. So BMW have moved from Sachs to Marzocchi. You've got different electronics controlling it all. It's a lot smoother, a lot plusher. Then you've got the M version, which is this. So you've got carbon fibre wheels, different seat, loads of goodies. So I'd say that today's ride here in Estoril has kind of covered off most of the questions. It is a massive improvement over the old bike, much easier to ride. In terms of what it's like at the absolute limit, still don't know, but it's not going to be slow, is it? But it's our job now to get hold of a bike in the UK. We're going to be testing it again soon against some of its rivals. I'm going to be running one as a long-term test bike this year, and I'm also going to be racing one. So it's going to be S1000RR crazy all year. But as far as today goes, we've had a great time. The BMW's really impressed us, and it's going to be a really interesting year for the new S1000RR.